Welcome to shul.com. We are learning the laws of Shabbat by Rabbi Nachson, and we are up to checking pockets before Shabbat. On Erev Shabbat, it is a mitzvah for one to check his pockets of any clothing that one will wear on Shabbat in order to ensure there are no muktzeh items in them. So there's an issue of muktzeh items and then an issue of carrying. This is especially important to say where there's no Erev. 72. Clothing that are only used on Shabbat do not need to be checked on Erev Shabbat if one knows that he did not use it for any other occasion during the week and he didn't wear them for any other purpose. So Shabbat clothing for an Avel and on Shabbat Hazon. 73. An Avel may clean his shoes before Shabbat in order to have them clean to be worn on Shabbat. 74. An Avel must wear Shabbat clothing. However, he can only change into Shabbat clothing immediately before Shkiyah after he has already accepted Shabbat. If an Avel wants to accept Shabbat before Plag HaMincha, he may do so. 75. Some Ashkenazim do not wear Shabbat clothing on Shabbat Hazon. However, the custom of Sfaradim is to wear Shabbat clothing just as one would wear on any other Shabbat. Let's take a look at 100. That's the footnote for 75 on the bottom. He mentions here from Shabbat 113a that one must dress differently on Shabbat from the rest of the week, and explains that this Gemara does not differentiate between the different Shabbatot. So he says here also, it's brought on Torah Moadim and Ben HaMetzanim, page 207, which discusses this subject at length. Some Moroccan communities follow the custom of the Ramah 551-1 and do not wear their Shabbat clothes on Shabbat Hazon. Very interesting. Okay, let's continue. Eating a meal on Erev Shabbat. Can you eat these big meals that people do on Erev Shabbat? So there's a lot here. 76. One may not eat a large meal on Erev Shabbat that one is not accustomed to eating on a regular day. Eating a meal is prohibited in order to honor Shabbat by being hungry and having an appetite for the Shabbat meal, and so that one does not get distracted by one's meals and neglect the preparation necessary for Shabbat. One who wants to eat a regular meal, as he would eat on a regular day, may not do so beginning from the 9th halachic hour of the day. That's the Sha'az Manit, the 9th hour. You can't have these big meals. These big meals can even be with mizonot in large quantities. 77. A meal that is prohibited after the 9th hour of the day is defined as eating more than a kabetza of bread, about 50 grams of bread, or more than 3 kabetzot of any dish made from the 5 grains. So that's where the issue probably comes up more so. He cites Halakha B'Torah, volume 13, page 381. 78. All types of fruit, vegetables, meat, dairy products, and drinks are permitted to be eaten throughout the day, even if one eats large amounts. It should be stressed, however, that one should not eat too much before Shabbat in order to have an appetite to properly enjoy the Shabbat meal, especially if one gets full very easily. Likewise, one should not drink alcoholic beverages on Erev Shabbat, so that one does not get drunk or too sick to be able to enjoy and fulfill the Shabbat meal. Okay, and he brings down there, that's from the Kaf HaHaim Sofer 249-9 and 79. The Seudat mitzvah is permitted on Erev Shabbat, but preferably it should be done in the morning hours in order to not be full on Shabbat. The following cases are considered a Seudat mitzvah. So he's going to give you now which ones are there. And there's a bunch here. A meal in honor of Pidyon Haben. Even a meal that is made in honor of Pidyon Haben that was pushed off for whatever reason may be done on Erev Shabbat. B. A meal that is in honor of Hatan and Kala during the 7 days after the wedding. It's like a Shevet Berachot. That's another Seudat mitzvah. C. A bar mitzvah party may be done on Erev Shabbat even after the 9th hour of the day. However, one may only do so if it is the actual Hebrew birthday of the bar mitzvah boy and not before or after his actual birthday. That's the Hebrew birthday. In any case, it's preferable to make the meal before Chatzot. And he brings down here the Aruch HaShulchan, Ketzot HaShulchan, Chazon Ovadia, Halakha B'Torah, Piskei Teshuvot, and Nikrot Moshe, who states that a bat mitzvah party is not considered a Seudat mitzvah. So, sorry girls, not for that meal. D. A meal in honor of a Siyum Masechet may take place on Erev Shabbat, but it's preferable to leave part of the Masechet to be learned on Motzei Shabbat and make the Siyum then. Okay, so push it off then, if possible. E. When Yom Tov is on a Friday, one may eat his regular Yom Tov meal as he would on a regular Yom Tov. However, it is praiseworthy to finish one's meal before the 9th hour of the day in order not to be too full to fill the Shabbat meal as well. Okay, F. It is permitted to eat a meal in honor of Chol HaMoed or Rosh Chodesh on Erev Shabbat. Okay, so if you want to have a nice meal on Chol HaMoed or on Rosh Chodesh, Erev Shabbat, however, it's preferable for one to eat the meal before the 9th hour of the day. Again, mentioning that you should do it before the 9th hour. G. When Purim is on Erev Shabbat, the Seudah may be called for after Hatzot since it is considered a Seudah mitzvah, but one should preferably not eat the Seudah too close to Shabbat. It is recommended to eat the Seudah in the morning after hearing the Megillah and giving Mishloach Manot and Matanot Le'Evyonim. Okay, so again, you have another exception there. 80. One who gets married on Friday should not make the wedding meal during the daytime. Instead, the meal should be done on Friday night. 81. An Avil should not eat bread at the Seudat Havra'ah on Erev Shabbat if the Seudah is taking place too close to Shkia. So now he's going to discuss fasting on Erev Shabbat. 82. The common custom is to refrain from fasting on Erev Shabbat since it is not appropriate to enter Shabbat when one is fasting and uncomfortable. 83. Any of the regular fast days, not including Ta'anit Esther that occur on Friday or Shabbat, is deferred to Sunday. However, when the 10th of Tevet is on a Friday, one must fast until Tzet HaKochavim, and one is not permitted to eat upon accepting the Shabbat. 84. When the 10th of Tevet falls out on Erev Shabbat, even those who usually have a custom to wear tefillin during Mincha on a fast day should not wear tefillin during Mincha on Erev Shabbat, even if one is praying at Mincha Gedolah. 85. One who fasts every year on the yortzeit of a parent should also fast on Erev Shabbat if it falls out on that day. However, he should stipulate before fasting that he should be able to eat before Arvit and not have to fast until Tzet HaKochavim. Put that extra condition. 86. When Erev Pesach is on Erev Shabbat, Ta'anit Bechorot is observed on Erev Shabbat. Okay, interesting. All right, so that's what he has up until here. Then he's going to begin tomorrow discussing traveling on Erev Shabbat and how that works out. And so one of the good customs that I see that keeps on coming up here in reference is the not eating on Erev Shabbat. What I noticed, there was a guy here in Brooklyn, didn't live too far from me, that we one time were walking home on Friday night with him after shul, and he mentioned to my dad, he was rushing home, and my dad was like, why are you rushing so much? Like, what's the big deal? He's like, I'm hungry. He's like, I fast on Friday. So we were like, well, what do you mean? He's like, he took upon himself that he would fast every Friday in order to go into the Shabbat, so that he would put all of his ta'ava and appetite into eating the Shabbat meal and not eating throughout the day. So it's a good custom. From time to time, I always recommend people to try to do it. Maybe not fasting from drinking, but from eating any major meals, and then you go into the Shabbat with that extra energy. If you could do it, if a person could do it, I found it easy. At some points, some people might have it more difficult, but if you could do it, or even extend it, like the halakha says, the 9th hour, perfect. Do it from the 9th hour onwards. That's already asur. That would already be a problem. But if you could even do it earlier, that way you put the day's full appetite into the Shabbat meal. It will have much more kedusha for you. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen v'amen.